President Trump gives some much-needed relief to American farmers. The administration hits back at legacy media's selective immigration reporting. And nominees for the Golden Globes are announced. I'm Georgia Howe with Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley. It's Monday, December 8th, and this is Evening Wire.
President Trump announced today that $12 billion will be heading to America's farmers as trade tensions with China continue. Daily Wire political reporter Cameron Arcan has the story.
The president held a roundtable with the agriculture industry on Monday, including farmers of critical crops like soybeans, corn, and cotton. The USDA's Farmer Bridge Assistance Program will primarily consist of one-time payments to qualifying farmers as the Trump administration hammers out trade deals with other countries. Anna Kelly, a White House spokesperson, said, quote, "Today's announcement reflects the president's commitment to helping our farmers, who will have the support they need to bridge the gap between Biden's failures and the president's successful policies taking effect."
In an update to a story we reported this morning, Paramount Skydance is making a last-ditch effort to disrupt the massive Netflix-Warner Brothers deal. Here's Daily Wire culture reporter Megan Basham.
Paramount Skydance launched a quote-unquote hostile bid for Warner Brothers this morning that significantly ups the ante for Netflix. As we reported, Netflix came out on top of a bidding war for Warner Brothers, offering some $72 billion to purchase the studio and all of its assets. But now, Paramount says they'll beat that offer by more than $30 billion. Their $108.4 billion counter comes as Hollywood bigwigs are openly lamenting the idea of Netflix further strengthening its already dominant streaming game, while also potentially taking a key studio out of the pro-theater side of the equation. As Reuters reports, eMarketer senior analyst Ross Bene said the Warner Brothers Discovery acquisition is far from over. He added, Netflix is in the driver's seat, but there will be twists and turns before the finish line.
The Trump administration has unveiled a new DHS website listing off the worst of the worst criminal illegal immigrants removed in the president's mass deportation crackdown. The site details 10,000 offenders arrested for murder, rape, child molestation, drug trafficking, and even terrorism ties, cases that federal officials say the press routinely ignores. Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says the goal is transparency, allowing Americans to see exactly who ICE has taken off their streets. Among those highlighted, a former Iranian Revolutionary Guard member tied to Hezbollah, a convicted cop shooter from Egypt, and a Minnesota illegal immigrant sentenced for killing his own infant son.
In more immigration news, ICE officials say authorities in Illinois are releasing violent, criminal, illegal aliens back into communities despite active ICE detainers. Daily Wire immigration reporter Jenny Tair has more.
ICE Director Todd Lyons says Illinois is holding and freeing offenders tied to murders, rapes, child sex assaults, kidnappings, and armed robberies, warning the state now has tens of thousands of criminal illegal aliens cycling through its custody. According to ICE, more than 1,700 offenders with detainers have already been released this year alone, forcing federal agents to hunt them down after the fact. ICE says the state's refusal to cooperate plainly jeopardizes public safety, urging leaders to stop shielding violent offenders who, without intervention, will walk Illinois streets again.
JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon says despite some economic rough spots, including persistent inflation and uncertainty over AI's impact on jobs, things are looking pretty good for the American consumer. Here's Dimon on Sunday Morning Futures.
In the short run, it looks like the American consumer is doing fine, is chugging along, companies are making profits, stock markets are high, and that could easily continue. There are a little small negatives, like jobs are weakening, but just a little bit. Inflation is there and maybe not going down.
Secretary Scott Bessent agrees. He says the economy is healthier than it was projected to be and told Face the Nation's Margaret Brennan that concerns over tariffs have been overblown.
The economy has been better than we thought. We've had 4% GDP growth in a couple of quarters. We're going to finish the year, despite the Schumer shutdown, with 3% real GDP growth.
Well, the maker of Tonka trucks, their CEO said it's going to cost $40 for their toys right now because of tariffs and inflation.
Well, Margaret, inflation's a composite number, and it's roughly the same year over year. And if we were to look at all imported goods inflation is below the inflation number. which is about 2.9%. Imported goods inflation is about 1.8%. It's the service economy that's generating inflation, which actually has nothing to do with tariffs.
Meanwhile, gas prices have reached another major milestone. The average price per gallon has fallen below $3 for the first time in over 4 years. This follows the U.S. setting an all-time record for oil production at 13.8 million barrels per day in August. Daniel Turner, founder and executive director for Power the Future, celebrated the moment, saying, quote, "Gas prices dropping below $3 a gallon isn't an accident. It's the direct result of real leadership in Washington and reversing the anti-energy policies of the last 4 years."
The Northeast and Midwest are in the midst of a polar vortex weather event that's expected to bring frigid temperatures through mid-December. Forecasters at AccuWeather are warning that Subzero temps could potentially shatter record lows from Iowa to Maine over the next 7 days. The first cold blast swept through this past weekend, but 2 more rounds are expected between now and December 14th. Residents in affected areas are advised to prepare emergency kits, limit outdoor exposure, and monitor for weather updates.
As Democrats continue to condemn the military's drug boat strikes in the Caribbean, Representative Seth Moulton of Massachusetts is taking it to the next level. Here he was on CNN yesterday.
The President of the United States and his Secretary of Defense are conducting murder on the high seas. Just give it time before Donald Trump starts doing this same kind of thing to people we do know right here at home.
Democrats have pushed to have the classified video of a follow-up strike on a drug boat that killed 2 survivors made public. Republican Senator Tom Cotton, who has seen the video, seemed warm to the idea. Here's Cotton on NBC.
I don't have any problem with it. I would trust Secretary Hegseth and his team to make the decision about whether they can declassify and release the video. But again, there's nothing remarkable about the video, in my opinion.
The White House has defended the president's authority to authorize the Caribbean strikes.
As the Trump administration continues to clean house of high-level federal officials, a Supreme Court fight has emerged that could dramatically reshape how the government operates. Daily Wire senior editor Joel Needler has more on the potential impact.
The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case brought by Rebecca Slaughter, a former member of the Federal Trade Commission whom Trump fired in March. The justices will decide whether the president had lawful authority to remove her. Typically, panels of bureaucrats set policy details on issues ranging from nuclear power to consumer protections, but recent regulations and rhetoric have raised questions about just how nonpartisan they really are. A decision on Slaughter's case, expected later this year, could significantly alter the relationship between federal agencies and the office of the president.
A powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake shook the sea near Japan this morning, causing several injuries. The quake, 50 miles off the coast, created a tsunami of roughly 20 inches with the potential for higher surges. The government reports that nuclear power plants in the area are performing safety checks and are so far unaffected. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi addressed the incident briefly, saying, quote, "We are putting people's lives first and doing everything we can."
The Trump administration is ordering U.S. consular officers to deny entry to foreign workers involved in censorship of Americans online. Daily Wire reporter Zach Jewell has the latest.
An internal State Department cable directs officers to thoroughly vet applicants and to reject anyone with previous work that may have targeted protected speech in the U.S. This includes experience in content moderation, misinformation policing, fact-checking, or compliance. Officials say the new scrutiny is aimed squarely at H-1B applicants, who often work inside major tech companies accused of silencing Americans. A senior State Department official told Fox that the message is simple. The U.S., quote, will not import foreign censors, especially after social media giants banned President Trump himself.
Award season is here. The 83rd Golden Globes nominations were announced this past weekend, and a few shows and movies stood out. Unlike the Oscars, the Golden Globes recognizes excellence in both TV and movies. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another led the pack with 9 nods, including Best Motion Picture. On the television side, HBO's The White Lotus leads with 6 nominations, including Best Television Series. Fan favorite Severance also earned some nods, as did The Pit and Adolescence. Winners will be announced in January.
And President Trump presided over the 48th annual Kennedy Center honors this past weekend in D.C., a historic first for a sitting president. Daily Wire entertainment reporter Amanda Harding has the details.
The event recognizes the lifetime artistic contributions of individuals whose work has shaped American culture. Among the winners was country music legend George Strait, the king of country with over 120 million albums sold, and a record-breaking concert history. Joining him were members of rock band Kiss, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley. Also named was Broadway icon Michael Crawford, the original star of Phantom of the Opera, disco pioneer Gloria Gaynor, made famous by her hit song I Will Survive, and Hollywood powerhouse Sylvester Stallone.
Those are your drive home updates this evening. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it earlier today, we covered some major stories, including President Trump purging immigration judges while the Supreme Court takes up his challenge to birthright citizenship, Minnesota's welfare scandal widening to include key Democrats, and the massive Netflix Warner Brothers deal. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.